Welcome to experiment number 1. In this experiment, I will familiarize with you the equipments and the instruments used for conducting the experiments, and it will be used for further experiments. So starting with the first equipment, that is this power supply. You have to put the switch upside so that this power supply can be on. As you can see, this is the displaying segment, and these are the switches, and these are 3 segments. So to select any of the segments from here, we have to press a button so that we can select a segment. We can see that there are 3 segments. One is yellow, the other is green, the third one is blue. The yellow segment, it has a voltage range of 0 to 30 volt and a current range of 0 to 2 ampere. Similarly, for the green segment, we have a voltage range of plus minus 3 volt to plus minus 15 volt, and the current rating is of 1 ampere. We can see these are the 3 sockets from which we can take the output. The red one is for positive supply, the black one is for the negative supply, and the green one is for common ground. Moving on to the third segment, it is a constant power supply of 5 volt. Similarly, over here we have 2 sockets for the positive power supply, that is red one, and the negative supply, that is the black one. These 2 are called the probes. It is connected to the sockets so as to we can extract the output from this power device. These are called the fine tuning knobs, which can be rotated so as to move to some accurate value of the voltage. Now, any of the segments can be selected from these buttons. So pressing like S1, we have selected this yellow segment. Now if you want to select the third segment, we press the S3 buttons. Since I told you that this only delivers a 5 volt plus minus some tolerance value, so it is displaying a 5 volt DC over here. If you want to fine tune it further, we have to tune it this button. As you can see that as I rotate this knob, I am able to fluctuate the voltage plus or minus something for 5 volt. Okay, now moving on to the second equipment, that is the function generator. A function generator is basically used to generate an AC signals, and it can generate voltage signals that has the shape of either a sine wave or a pulse wave or a square wave and a triangular wave. These are the various buttons through which we can change the values of the frequency. Over here the display segment is displaying the voltage frequency which is being generated by this function generator. As you can see that currently it is displaying a 1 kilohertz frequency on its display screen. We can change the shape of the signal by pressing this wave button. Currently it is displaying a sine signal. Now if we want to move it to switch on to a pulse signal, we just have to press this wave button so that we can change it to some other shape. Currently it has moved to pulse shape. Now if we want to move it to triangular shape, again we have to press it. Now we can see there is a triangle shaped waveform. Again we have to bring it to sine shape signal. Again we have to press this button. So we can get back the sine signal again. Now these buttons are basically it is also used to manipulate the frequency, or we can change with these buttons by pressing whatever value is desired for our experiment. This is the variable frequency knob generator. Through rotating this knob clockwise or anti-clockwise, we can again change the frequency as per our desired values. Similarly, this is called the amplitude changing button. We can change or vary the amplitude by again moving this knob clockwise or anti-clockwise to get a desired voltage. Now these are called the sockets from where we can extract the output. This is a coaxial cable of 50 ohm resistance. It is also used to take the output from the function generator. Now moving on to the third equipment that is very important and it is used for observing the waveforms. It is called DSO, that is digital storage oscilloscope. It is used to observe various waveforms, either the input or the output for the experiments. Here also we have a central display segments. Currently it is displaying a sinusoidal waveform. Here we have various buttons and knobs. Again we are having two knobs or the sockets basically to give input to the oscilloscope to observe the waveform. It consists of two channels, channel 1 and channel 2, from which we can simultaneously observe two waveforms simultaneously. Now the waveforms can be seen on the display screen, and we can have automatic display of some various values over here. The yellow button or the yellow waveform shows that the signal is coming from channel 1. Simultaneously the same thing will happen for channel 2, but the display will come in a blue display. These are the various buttons and their functions are written below it. Some of the important buttons over here are like measure. By pressing these buttons we can measure the various values like voltage maximum, peak to peak voltage, minimum voltage and the duty cycle of the signal. This is called the auto set button. If we are lost somewhere and we are not able to get our what exact waveform we wanted, or we don't need to panic, we can press this button so that the observation can start from the very beginning. Again this knob is called voltage per division. It's a knob, we can again rotate it clockwise and anti-clockwise so that we can scale our signal for our convenience, so that we can observe it conveniently. The same property is for the channel 2 also, voltage per division. This knob is used to move the waveform upward or downward. As you can see, by moving the knob anti-clockwise, I am able to shift the waveform downside. Similarly, if I rotate it clockwise, I will be able to shift the waveform upside. The same function will be for the channel 2 also. Now we have another knob that is for time division, so that we can make the variation in the time domain, horizontal axis that is. Since this is common for both the channels, so there is only one section for this horizontal sweep. See, by rotating this thing we are able to shift the time division, time axis, left side or the right side. And same for the channel 2 also. We can operate the channel 2 with this button. Right now we are not connected any input signal to channel 2, hence we are getting a constant ground signal. Now moving to another device, that is the breadboard. This is called the breadboard. It looks like a slice of bread. This is the insulation part, and this is the breadboard where we make connections. Here we connect the various circuits to give the input and take the output from wherever we desire it. We can see number of holes in this board. These and these two sections are parallel. You can see that a parallel line going, and these are divided between a valley over here. These holes at the top and at the bottom are used to give the input supply and to take the ground it also over here, common supply. These holes we can connect various circuits onto these holes so that we can connect the input and output from over here. Now these holes are not exactly all shorted. The top and the bottom segments are very similar. The top one is like they are shorted horizontally, and these two lines are not shorted, means these two are insulated from each other, and these holes at the top line are shorted so that they are at the same potential. Similarly with this bottom line. Now moving on to this segment and this segment. These two segments are also very similar. The functions are similar. In this section we have holes that are shorted from top to bottom. These 5 holes are shorted, and these 2 parallel lines do not have any conducting or shorted path. Means these two are also insulated from each other. Similarly, every parallel paths are insulated from each other, but every collinear points on this line is shorted, so they are at the same potential. Hence we make connections through with whatever ICs or any equipment we can connect it, and we can run jumper wires so that we can connect and make the desired connection so as to get our output from here. Now moving on to the third equipment, the digital multimeter. This is an instrument basically to measure various values like AC DC voltage, AC and DC currents, and resistance, and various passive devices we can calculate from over here. So basically to measure this we have 2 wires. These 2 wires can be connected to any supply or a passive device. The red one can be connected to the positive supply, and the negative one can be connected to the negative supply to measure the values of either the voltage or the current. But in case of a passive device, we can connect to any end of the device because they don't have any supply positive or negative. By moving this knob clockwise, we can select any of the mode. Right now just I have connected to our AC/DC voltage so that it can measure the voltage. Similarly for resistance we can move on to this ohm sign position, so we can calculate the resistance. So these can be used to measure values of the different passive and various voltage and currents wherever we require it. We can turn it off from this knob, moving it clockwise or anti-clockwise.
After getting familiarized with the various equipments used, which are going to be used in this experiment, we come to the first part of experiment 1, where we have to generate 5 kilohertz 5 volt amplitude sine wave, and we have to observe the same on CRO. For that we need to have connections from CRO to from function generator to CRO, for which we are using this breadboard. Okay. So as shown here, the signal output of function generator is connected to the this top rail, and same is taken out and connected to the CRO. Okay, and then we have ground connected of both the things. Okay. So now we power on the function generator. Okay. Okay, as we see here, we have to generate a 5 volt amplitude and 1 kilohertz sine wave. So for that, we set this is a knob by which we can vary the different waveforms which we are going to generate. So if we set here as sine wave, we are going to get a sine wave. Okay. After that, we are going to set the frequency. For that, here buttons are there. We press 1 and we press kilohertz. Okay, this generates 1 kilohertz sine wave. Now we need to check the amplitude. We need 5 volt amplitude, which means 10 volt peak to peak amplitude in our experiment. So we can change the amplitude by using this amplitude knob. So as we see here right now, amplitude on CRO is shown as if we want to see if you want to have a quick observation, we can just press this measure button, which is telling us that 5 volt amplitude is set here, peak to peak. Sorry, 10 volts. Okay, we can reduce it a little by changing this amplitude knob. Okay, right now it is set exactly to 5 volt amplitude or 10 volt peak to peak. Now this is a voltage per division button for channel 1, okay, and this is for channel 2. Okay, since we have connected signal to channel 1, so we can change this button to vary the voltage per division in appropriate manner. Okay, and similarly we can change time per division by using this button. Okay, for measuring the time period of the waveform, what we can do is we can bring these we can measure the difference between these two peaks. Okay, so as you see here, right now time per division is 250 microsecond, and difference between two peaks is 1, 2, 3, 4 peaks, 4 divisions. So we multiply 4 with 250 and we get 1000 microsecond, which is 1 millisecond. So it is essentially 1 kilohertz sine wave. That's what we had generated. Okay, measuring other way, we can directly press the measure button, which will shows the exactly what frequency is getting generated. It is shown here 1 kilohertz or 999 hertz. Then another way of measuring is by putting cursor. We can switch on the cursor button, and this is right now showing horizontal cursors. So we can press this XY, which will bring the cursor in vertical direction. Now using this variable knob, we can exactly align the cursor. For changing the cursor position, okay, as shown here, the difference is 1.01 millisecond, by which frequency, if we calculate, it will be 1 kilohertz. Okay. Now for similar way, we can see the various other waveforms. Like right now we have seen sine wave. We can see the square wave also. Okay. And similar way we can measure the time difference between the two. So as shown here, time period is exactly 1 millisecond, and hence the frequency is 1 kilohertz. And amplitude also we can see. So right now it is showing peak to peak amplitude as 25 volts. Okay, we can change it by changing the amplitude knob. So as shown here, amplitude is 10 volt. Okay, and we can see similar thing on triangular wave also, time period and voltage. Okay, now coming to the effect of triggering, we see one small arrow here, which if we move, it changes the starting position where the samples are taken by CRO. Okay. So if we take the trigger out of the signal amplitude, signal starts fluctuating. Okay, so we need to trigger it properly. So normally we keep it near the middle or near the ground value, where fluctuations are far less. Coming to the second part of experiment 1, we have to generate a 7 volt, 0 to 7 volt pulse wave. So for that, if we generate a 3.5 volt peak to peak, 3.5 volt, 7 volt peak to peak square wave, which is 3.5, 0 to 3.5 positive side and 0 to minus 3.5 negative side, and we give the offset of 3.5 volts, then plus 3.5 will be shifted to 7 and minus 3.5 will be shifted to 0. So if we do that, we will be able to generate that 0 to 7 volt pulse wave. So we go and set on CRO wave as square wave, and we change the amplitude so that we get 7 volt peak to peak. Okay, nearly 7 volt peak to peak, and we have to give the offset by using this offset knob, which when we pull, it will become effective. Okay, as we see here, that this is ground. Okay, on this we have generated the signal. So this is DC coupling right now. In DC coupling, AC and DC both are allowed to appear on CRO. Okay. Now if we go to AC coupling, that will block the DC. And since we know we have given a 3.5 volt DC, so that should get cancelled and we should get 3.5 volt positive side and 3.5 volt negative side. As we see, right now here is ground, okay, plus 3.5 and minus 3.5. So this AC coupling essentially cancels out any DC which is present.
The next part of this experiment is to plot XY using DSO, that is digital storage oscilloscope. First, we'll give from the function generator, we'll give an input to this oscilloscope, a sinusoidal wave of amplitude 5 voltage peak, that is 5 volt max. So the peak voltage will be 10 volt peak to peak, and the frequency will be 1 kilohertz. Mathematically, you can represent this signal with 5 sin omega t on to channel 1. So we are giving an input of 5 sin omega t to the oscilloscope to this channel 1. Now what we'll do, we'll put the channel 1 and channel 2 into ground mode. Since now the oscilloscope is in channel 1 and its coupling is in AC, we'll put into ground mode. Now we can see that the channel 1 is in ground mode. Now similarly for the channel 2. Now both the channel 1 and channel 2 are in the ground mode. Now we'll put the scope into XY mode. As we can see that when I have put the oscilloscope into XY mode, there is a small yellow dot you can see in the display segment over here. Now we have to move this dot to the center. So we can move this knob to put it in left or right side, and this knob to move it upward or lower. As we can see, the dot is moving near to the origin. It's almost on the origin of this display, which is divided into two axes. This being the x-axis and this being the y-axis. This being the origin, so the dot has been moved to this origin. Now what we will do is that now we will remove the ground state of both the channels and bring it into DC modes. Now for channel 1 we have put it into DC mode. Similarly for channel 2 we have to bring it to DC mode. Now we can see that there is a linear graph between channel 1 and channel 2. Since we have given the same input to both the channels, hence we are obtaining a linear graph between X and Y. So we can observe this waveform and sketch it from over here. Now the next part of this experiment is to calculate the potential from a potential divider. We will use in that experiment a two 10k ohm resistors, and the connections will be made on the breadboard. The two resistors will be of 10k ohm in series and across the function generator. So we will apply the function generator across the serial connections of the two 10k ohm resistors, and we will measure the output from the midpoint and the ground. So a potential divider is basically a circuit from which the voltage that output what we can get will be half of the input voltage. So we will try to make a circuit and observe the same thing on the screen. Now either manually or through this measure button we can calculate the value or observe the values of the voltage across both the channels. Since the two channels were they got the input from the function generator, so the circuits were connected on the breadboard, which can be seen below. Here we can see the two 10k ohm resistors, they are in serial. These two resistors are in serial, and we are giving the inputs across the one of the end of the resistor and the ground, and we are taking the output from the middle of the serial connections of the resistor and the ground, and we have connected it to the oscilloscope to observe the waveform. Here we can observe the inputs and the outputs. Since we have connected the input of the incoming signal to channel 1, hence we can observe a more amplitude, that is the yellow one, which is the channel 1 that contains signal of which can be represented mathematically with phi sin omega t, that is 10 volt peak to peak. And theoretically we should be able to get from the output a sinusoidal wave of 5 volt peak to peak output signal, which is in blue as you can see it. Now from the measure button what we have pressed, we got the following readings. For channel 1 we have approximately 10 volt, that is this yellow one, and for channel 2, from that circuit whatever we connected, the output we are being able to observe it is of approximately 5 volt. So we can say that our experimental values almost is very near or exactly the same that should be of theoretical value. And try to observe these waveforms and we will try to sketch the waveforms. Now for the fourth part of this experiment, I would like to discuss about the limitations of an oscilloscope. Since the oscilloscope is an equipment, it has a certain value of resistance and capacitance. As you can notice it, the oscilloscope has an input resistance of 1 mega ohm and a capacitance of 15 picofarad written over here. So it is basically the same for the channel 1 and channel 2 as well. Basically this is used for CRO to tell that CRO has an input equivalent to a 1 mega ohm resistor in a parallel with a 15 picofarad capacitor. Now for this part of the experiment, we will give a power supply of 5 volt from this equipment. Since we need to give a power supply that is of DC value, so we need this power supply because it gives a DC value. Now as we can see that both the channels are in the ground state, we are giving through the same circuit as used earlier for the 10k ohm resistor of the potential divider. The same circuit is being carried for the DC supply given from this equipment. Now the channel 1 has been given the input of 5 volt from the input power supply, that is the yellow one. Now the output is observed from the channel 2 from the potential divider circuit. We can see the output, the blue one, has been shifted upwards from the ground or the reference level. Now using the measure button, we can observe the values of the input and output of this signal. Now we can see the RMS value, that is the DC value for the input signal, that is for channel 1, is approximately around 5.4 volt. Now the output that we are observing over here, that is the blue line, the DC level or the RMS value for this output signal is around 2.7 volt, which is approximately the same as it should be for the theoretical value. So we can see that the theoretical value matches exactly with the experimental value. Now we will try to observe the same and measure the same values of the output and input value from the digital multimeter and try to find out what is the difference between the input and output values. This is the display segment of the multimeter, and we have moved the knob to this voltage segment so that we can measure the voltage. Now we have connected the probes of the multimeter to the input signal. We can observe a value of 5 volt, approximately 5 volt, whatever input we have applied. Now we will observe the output by connecting the multimeter probes to the divider circuit of the circuit that we have created for the potential divider. Now we can see the output is approximately the same that should be of the theoretical value, that is 2.5. Since the potential divider divides the input voltage into half of that, hence again we are able to observe the theoretical value and experimental value are same. Now we will try to observe the same input and the output signals, but with the same circuit but with a different value of the resistor. That is, now we will use a resistance of 1 mega ohm, means we will use the two resistance of 1 mega ohm values. Again we will give inputs to this from the power supply, and the value will be 5 volt, and we will take the output from the midpoint of the circuit, that is from the potential divider point. And again we will try to observe first on the oscilloscope, then we will try to move it to the digital multimeter, and we will try to figure out what value are we able to observe it. Now moving to this oscilloscope, we have made the connections for 1 mega ohm potential divider. Previously we used a 10k ohm resistor for the potential divider circuit. Now we are using a 1 mega ohm resistor for this potential divider. Now again we are giving an input of 5 volt to channel 1, that is the input. This yellow line is the input. Again for the channel 1 we can see the input is around 5.5 volt, and for the channel 2 that we are observing for the output is the measured value is around 1.9 volt. Now again we will try to measure it on digital multimeter and try to observe the difference between the value calculated from the oscilloscope and the digital multimeter. Since for the first initial case of 10k ohm resistors, we were able to observe almost the same value, that the experimental value matched with the theoretical value, that 5 volt got divided into 2.5 volt. But in this case we were there was a difference of around 0.6 for the voltage, which is not exactly as the theoretical value. Now we will again try to observe it the same circuit on the digital multimeter and again try to find out what the difference comes out now. Again we are able to observe on this digital multimeter screen a voltage rating of 5 volt that we are giving as an input. Now again we will try to check the output from the midpoint of the circuit. The value comes out to be 2.13 volt. This is the output of the potential divider circuit. Now what we have figured out, that when we calculated for the oscilloscope, measured the value from the oscilloscope of the potential divider output, we got an output of 1.9 volt from the oscilloscope. But giving the same input and measuring it from the digital multimeter, we observed the output voltage coming out to be around 2.15 volt, which is nearest to 2.5 volt. But still there is quite some difference between theoretical value and the experimentally observed value. Now I would like to explain why this difference is coming in this circuit of 1 mega ohm resistor and the previous circuit of 10 ohm resistor. The previous circuit matched exactly with the same theoretical value and the observed experimental value, but with 10 mega ohm, 1 mega ohm, sorry, we are able to see a slight difference between the theoretical value and the experimental value. As I explained, that oscilloscope has an input impedance of 1 mega ohm. So when we made the circuit of 1 mega ohm resistor, so that oscilloscope provided an input impedance of 1 mega ohm to this circuit, through which the potential across that output from where we were measuring the output got decreased to 1.9 volt. But the digital multimeter also provided an input impedance of 20 mega ohm, because digital multimeter that I showed you has an input impedance of 20 mega ohm. Now since digital multimeter has an input impedance of 20 mega ohm, so when we measured from digital multimeter, we were very near to our theoretical value, that was 2.5 volt theoretically, and experimentally we got it 2.15 volt. Since we know, as we have studied, that for an ideal device the input impedance should be infinite or very high, so that we can measure the value correctly. So since as compared to our measuring circuit that was of 1 mega ohm resistor, the oscilloscope provided an input impedance of 1 mega ohm. So the passive device as well as the observing device both had almost the same value of input resistance. Hence we were not able to observe the exact value of the that should be theoretical value, that is of 2.5 volt. But when we used digital multimeter, it had a very high resistance of 20 mega ohm, hence it provided very high input, hence we are able to observe a more near or almost accurate value, but still it differed because the voltage still got decreased by the input resistance provided by the multimeter. Hence this was the reason for observing the difference for 1 mega ohm resistor circuit case, which was not observed in 10 k ohm resistor case, because the value of the resistors were very small as compared to the impedance resistance provided by the oscilloscope as well as the multimeter.